Welcome to the Sales and Marketing for Decorators podcast. My name is John Mears, and today I am joined by the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mike Cupit. How are you, mate?
John Mears, not too bad. Thank you very much. I hope you're doing all right there. Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. I feel honoured.
No problem, mate. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well. I've got me bestest mummy ever coffee mug, so that's not mine, but yeah.
That's fine. I generally, when I'm at home working from home, I generally wrap myself up in a unicorn duvet. Again, not mine, it's my daughter's, but it's the comfiest thing in the house. So yeah, don't feel bad, mate. We've all got skeletons in our closet.
How are you then? So you're off the tools today?
I am off the tools today, just trying to get ahead of things really, doing a bit of admin, answering emails, doing a little bit of marketing, and getting my van sorted out, ready to start a new job tomorrow. So yeah, it's quite nice having an office day at times. It clears everything. It makes everything a lot easier when you get on top of all your little jobs and you're good to go again once you're organised. So yeah, I quite like an office day when I can, when I'm not too busy.
I think they're important. I was speaking to Trevor Mangan about this, and he likes to have full office days. He'll book it in his calendar as just that's an admin day, and he'll do all of those bits and bobs that you just really can't be asked to do when you get home at 7 o'clock after a full day on the tools.
Yeah. I quite like working on an exterior for that reason. When it starts raining, obviously you're not earning any money, but one thing it does do, it gives you a little bit of breathing space to kind of get organised, and then, like I say, you can go again then. Yeah,
and that's it in this country. It's not if it starts raining, it's when it starts raining.
Yeah, it's an absolute nightmare having to give set dates for exterior decorating sometimes, but it's your bread and butter is what I enjoy doing. So you've kind of got to get on with it, haven't you?
No, absolutely. Good. So today I wanted to talk about something which I know you've got experience on, and that is transitioning to self-employment. So there are a lot of decorators that are obviously working at a firm, or maybe they're apprentices, or they're just different stages of their career. But transitioning into self-employment is quite a big step.
It's a massive step. It's absolutely huge, and it's not just a career step either. It's lifestyle. It's everything. There are no boundaries between kind of work life and home life when you're self-employed. You've got to set boundaries. There's got to be a certain point, but it's completely blurred. It's absolutely huge.
So tell us about your first step into self-employment. How old were you? Where were you in your career at that point, and how did it go?
Yeah, no worries. Well, I started decorating when I was 18, and I came into the trade. It was a little bit of an accident, really. A guy called Phil Dorr moved over from the Isle of Man. He married a girl local to me, a friend of the family, and he was a decorator over in the Isle of Man. He came over here. He was actually looking for employment himself, but while he was looking for a decent job, threw out a few leaflets, got some jobs, and he was a little bit dodgy with heights. So the idea was he just needed somebody to foot the ladder for him for a couple of weeks while he did a few outsides, and we hit it off. Ended up working for him for 6 years, and I loved the graft, to be honest. I absolutely love decorating. I do. I know I'm a geek. I'm a social media geek, and I'm a decorating geek. And I love it through and through. So I worked with him for 6 years, and I went self-employed for the wrong reasons, I think. I started to get a little bit bitter about the amount of money that he was paying me. It was fair at the time, thinking back, but I got a little bit too big for my boots. I was a little bit naive, a little bit childish, and I thought, he's earning loads of money, I can do it. So we ended up falling out. I went threw a few leaflets out, did this, did that, got a few jobs, and I wasn't prepared for it. Like I say, I was a little bit naive, a little bit childish. I let the pressure get to me in the end. I wasn't organised enough. There was a few other things going on with my life, and I ended up. Well, I fell flat on my face, to be honest. I got myself into a right tizzy. Ended up being unemployed for a little bit, and then went and worked for another decorator and started again. So I think your head has definitely got to be in the right place before you can even think about making the leap from being employed to being self-employed. I think as well, this might sound a little bit weird, but if you're not ready to become self-employed, the only thing between being self-employed and unemployed is a mindset. You go from, like I say, it sounds a little bit weird, but you go from having a job, you turn up, you do the work that you're told to do, you go home and you get paid at the end of every week or at the end of every month, and it's nice, it's employment, it's a job. When you go self-employed, you don't have any of that. There's nothing. There are people there that are unemployed that go and sign on every 2 months at the Dole office or however it works nowadays. Or you can kind of call yourself self-employed. You turn up at somebody's house. You say, "I can do this work for you, but you're going to have to pay me." You make it up from day to day. If something goes wrong, you've got absolutely no security. You don't get paid. If something goes seriously wrong, it can knock you financially in massive way, and if you've got a family, you've got a mortgage, you can't put food on the table. So like I say, in the early stages of being self-employed, the only difference between being self-employed and unemployed is that mindset. You've got to get your mind right. You've got to be able to go at it and be organized and run it as a business. And like I say, it's weird. It sounds weird to try and get your head around it, but that's kind of the way I see it, or the way I saw it the first time I went self-employed.
I think that's really, really interesting. I have seen in the few years that I've been within the industry, I have seen a lot of decorators at different companies who said very similar to what you just said. They want to go self-employed because they see the boss charging thousands of pounds for jobs and think, I'm only earning 100 quid a day. Where's the rest of the bloody money going? And you get dollar signs in your eyes and you start thinking, someone's ripping me off here. Sod it. And like you say, you get bitter quite quickly, and then everything can sort of fall apart. And I think this is something that obviously you found out the hard way, that there is so much more to running a business than what you expect when you're an apprentice, when you're an employee. Because as you say, being an employee is you turn up when you're told to turn up, you do your job, you go home, you unclip your bib and brace, and that's it, done. You forget about decorating. Whereas being self-employed, particularly at the start, I imagine, you can tell me it's a full-time thing, is it? It's almost every waking hour. You're thinking, where's the next job going to come from? What do I need to do on my sales, my marketing? When have I got to schedule these appointments in? And even when you're on a job and you're working happily, you'll have in the back of your head, I've only got 2 weeks worth of work in the diary. Am I supposed to go and get more work when I'm stuck here up a ladder trying to do stuff? So there's a lot more involved than I think people think.
To be honest, if you're thinking like that, if you're on a job and you're already thinking ahead, in 2 weeks' time, there's no other work booked in, then you've got a head start. One mistake that I made was concentrating on one thing at a time rather than setting myself a plan and being organised. You can get bogged down in a job, you can get bogged down in work and not have a clear view ahead. And you need it. You need it. You need the foresight to think, right, I need a job in 2 weeks. What can I do now to ensure that I've got a job in 2 weeks' time? And then when you're busy, when you've got plenty of work, you still need to maintain the marketing, you still need to maintain your tools, you still need to make sure your cash flow's all right, you still need to make sure that you've got adequate insurance. You need to stay on top of absolutely everything and have a view about everything as you kind of going forward. So yeah, it's hard. It is hard, really hard being self-employed to begin with. I mean, you kind of grow into it, and don't get me wrong, the second time I went self-employed, I was a lot more organised. Before I went self-employed, I made sure that I did an adequate amount of marketing. I made sure I had work booked in. I did it at the right time of the year. Obviously, decorators are busier in spring and summer than they are during the winter months. So I made sure that I went self-employed at the right time of the year, so that it was easy enough to it was an easier time of the year to bring in better work. I still made mistakes. I think I underpriced jobs a lot too much because I was worried what people were going to think of the pricing. But again, you kind of live and learn, and I was a lot more organised. You kind of become a human conveyor belt of jobs. So you're on one thing, your main focus is the job that you're on. So before you do it, you need to get organised for the job that you're on. While you're on it, you need to maintain everything else. So you're still taking calls, you're still going to see jobs, you're still communicating with the customers that you've got in your books. You're still trying to negotiate the best prices with various different paint merchants. You're still on top of your cash flow. And once you can do kind of all of it, all of a sudden it's like there's a release. You don't have to kind of worry about things. That's the other thing. A lot of, obviously, we've talked about the pressures of being self-employed already. The one thing that you can't do as a self-employed tradesman in any industry, I think, but particularly decorating, is take those problems home with you. You need to remember that it's only a job. You do the best you can do. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. You can always go back into being employed again. Don't take those problems home. Don't have sleepless nights worrying about it, because I used to have sleepless nights all the time. Even when things were going right, I'd get nervous about talking to a customer when there was a problem on a job. There's always problems. You're always going to get them. You're always going to get breakages. You need to kind of man up, and I know there's ladies in the industry as well. You need to lady up in that case and have that awkward conversation and crack on with it. Don't take your problems at work home with you.
I think that's a really important point, and a lot of people can get very consumed in what they're doing, and when they walk into self-employment, they think of it as, this is it. There's no going back. I have to do this. I have to succeed. I have to prove to everybody that I can make this work. And before you know it, it's just a 24-hour thing. And you lose sight of why you went self-employed in the first place, which is probably because you wanted to have more flexible time and spend more time with your family and stuff like that. And you end up working twice as much, being twice as stressed. And I guess that leads to a point of, is it right for everybody? And is there a point where you're self-employed and you are struggling with certain things? Is there a point where you've got to look at it and go, do you know what? I'm probably better at this point in my life. I am better switching back and going to work for someone. I would rather earn 120 quid a day stress-free than maybe 150 quid a day, absolutely 24 hours a day, stressed, can't handle it, not spending any time with my family and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think you've got to do what kind of suits you. I don't think everybody's cut out for being self-employed. And like you said, the easier option is to work for somebody else. You've got security then. You've got a safety blanket. You turn up at a certain time, you do as you're told, you go home, and you get your money at the end of the week or the end of the month or whatever it is. And it is so much easier to kind of be like that. I think it can be a little bit awkward for somebody who's used to kind of being self-employed and used to doing their own thing to go in and working for another decorator again and having to do as they're told. It's weird to get your head around. You kind of get used to doing things your way, but like I say, it's so much easier working for somebody else than it is being self-employed. Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, because obviously you went self-employed, then you went back to employment, but also I know you've done work as a subby quite recently.
Yeah.
And it must be very odd having that, especially with the subby work you've done recently, as you're Mike Cupit, self-employed, sole trader. You know how to do things, you know how to run things, and then all of a sudden you're doing what you're told again, and you're like, you look at it as in a completely different frame of mind. When you're an employee and you've always been an employee, that's just how things are. You moan about the boss behind their back, you go home, whatever. Whereas you're probably looking at it in a very different light when you're like, well, I'm usually the boss. You're doing something wrong here, but I can't really tell you because
you don't do it like that.
Yeah,
just let me do it. Go home. I'll do this. Yeah, absolutely. It is a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. And another point. I've put quite a negative slant on being self-employed as well. I obviously went self-employed. I failed. I went and worked for somebody else again for a few years, and then I went self-employed again, and I did it properly. I've been self-employed now for probably 10, 11 years. I've got a great customer base, nice little business, the right kind of customers. I know all the other local decorators, and I can tell you now, when things are going right, it is the most rewarding thing you will ever do in your life, besides having kids or whatever. Work-wise, it is the best thing that you can ever do when things are going well. When you win that perfect job, or a job takes you less time than you expected it to, and you earn decent money and things just seem easy, it really is rewarding. If somebody gave me the choice now, I could go and work for somebody else for 200 quid a day, but I had to do it as I was told and work set hours. I'd turn them down point blank. I'd rather work as hard as I do without the security blanket and be self-employed 100%. I'd recommend it to anyone. Don't overthink it. Make sure you're organized. Make sure you stay organized and just go for it. Just do it.
I think that's really good advice, and I would recommend any decorator to try it. Let's talk about those first few weeks of self-employment. So I'm guessing probably on the first time you went self-employed, you had that right. I'm going to smash this. I'm going to be taking all the money. You have maybe a couple of weeks of honeymoon period where you manage to secure a few jobs, things are going right. And all of your plans, all of your visions, I think this is a mistake a lot of people make, is you see everything as it's going to be plain sailing, and you almost try not to think about anything going wrong, which is a bad thing to do, because then you get caught out twice as hard. And as you say, things can go wrong that can affect cash flow, and you can have problems with jobs. And if you haven't planned and thought these things through, then all of a sudden your perfect plan has all gone awry, and when you're supposed to be on Mrs. Jones's job earning loads of money, actually you've got to go back to Mrs. Thompson's house and do a touch up, and then things start to fall down. And so what was it like those first few weeks? What were the first things that you did? What did you do right? What did you do wrong?
The first couple of weeks weren't too bad, to be honest. I had it in my head that it was going to be plain sailing. Like I say, completely naive. I got stuck into the work, and I earned a lot better money than I was doing work for somebody else. My two major mistakes to begin with was, number one, I was underpricing work because I was scared of what clients would think of my price. Oh, it's only a bit of decorating. I can't believe he's trying to charge me £500 to paint a living room, as an example. I didn't want people to think I was taking the piss. And the other thing, I bent over backwards to try and squeeze a job in. So if I had, say, 6 or 8 weeks worth of work booked in, and Mrs. Jones phoned me and said, I need 2 bedrooms decorating, but they need to be done in 2 weeks' time. I just agreed, and I tried to do too much in one go rather than spacing things out, or a job had run over, and instead of phoning the next customer and saying, listen, the job's run over, I'm going to be a week late, I tried to keep everything going, and I had a labourer working for me, tried to do 2 jobs at once, and I ended up so bogged down in trying to do so much work that I was going from one job to another. The jobs weren't priced properly to begin with. I wasn't making any headway in the work, the way that I would have done if I was organised. And because I wasn't bogged down in that, because I was so bogged down in that, I didn't have a clear route forward. I didn't concentrate on marketing. I didn't stay on top of my quoting. I didn't stay in touch with all the customers that were coming up. I was too focused on the work, on what was in front of me and the problems that were in front of me, that I didn't have a clear business plan, and that's where it fell down, to be honest.
I think that's very common. I see it all too often with decorators, and it breaks your heart to see it, and I think it all does stem from underpricing jobs, because you've not done it before, you've not been trained on how to do it, and like you say, when you first go self-employed, you will have that certain imposter syndrome. You'll think, how can I possibly be charging as much as a decorator that's been working 30 years or something like that? And you think, maybe I'm not worth this much, and you end up underpricing, and then a job runs over, and you think, oh shit, I didn't envision that happening. Now I've underpriced the job and I'm working longer. You're getting bogged down on that, then you've not got time for the rest of your business. Before you know it, you're working 20 hours a day, getting nowhere, earning no money, and it all just snowballs. So yeah, I mean, pricing obviously very important, and time management as well. I think a lot of people are very guilty of, they're just over ambitious with time, and is that a skill that you've learned over years of experience on how to space things out properly?
Funnily enough, they are the 2 things that you don't get any training in when you're working for somebody else. You don't get trained in how to price a job, and you don't get trained in how to run a business or time management. But it's just a case of, I mean, I think decorators nowadays are in a better position because there are more resources out there. There are, I mean, for example, your book on marketing is absolutely phenomenal. It gives you not only an insight not only an insight into marketing, but actually taking a look at your business and how you can improve it. So it focuses the mind on the business. Pete Wilkinson's book on pricing for decorators, again, absolutely phenomenal, because it changes your mindset on how to price a job. Trevor Mangan as well has put out some brilliant content on how to price a decorating job. If you're thinking about going self-employed, you need to take advantage of the resources that are around now, because they weren't around when I went self-employed, and I really wish they were, because they are a massive help. Brilliant insight from people that are experts in certain fields of the trade. I think it's brilliant.
Well, thank you, and yeah, I love what Trevor's doing, and Pete Wilkinson, his books are amazing. I love Pete's books, and he really helped me with my book and getting mine to launch and everything. He's such a good guy, and his books were like the first thing I read when I came into the industry, to sort of try and understand what's the day-to-day challenges for decorators and stuff. What do they need? What are they looking at? And it's funny. It sort of made me realize that for painters and decorators, it's almost quite a unique thing, where you are so integral to the business, as in you're working in the business every day. It's very difficult to look at your business from an outside perspective and plan it in the same way as other businesses would. So, in my history of employment, I'll look after a small section of the overall business. I'll do the sales and the marketing, and there's other people for accounts. There's other people doing the sort of on the ground stuff, the shop front stuff. And for me, then it's a lot easier to sit back and go, right, here's the business as a whole. Here's what we're going to need to do to move the whole ship. But when you're up a ladder every day and you're painting and stuff like that, it must be so difficult to look at the big picture because you're right inside it all the time.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. I think you've just hit the nail on the head there.
And I think, so try taking the time to look at the other resources that are available will just change that mindset for you and sort of open up your perspective and how you look at things. And I think that's important, and I definitely recommend all of Pete's books. I think they're an absolutely great read for any decorator, whether you're self-employed or looking to go that way. Let's talk about, you've had the honeymoon period, those first few weeks of self-employment. Let's talk about more the second time you went self-employed, because you'd learned from your mistakes at this point. What were the key things that you think, I did that right the second time round, and that's why it succeeded? And what would you say to someone who, let's say John Mears, I'm working at a firm now, I want to go self-employed. What are my first few steps? How should I plan? What should I think about to start moving to self-employment?
Get organised and stay organised. While you are employed, you don't need to make this decision to go self-employed and there and then you are self-employed. You can spend a few weeks while you're employed for somebody else, doing a little bit of marketing, making the contacts that you need to make, pricing jobs and filling your diary. And like I say, do it at the right time of the year when there's plenty of work around, and talk to as many people as you can. Talk to other decorators. One thing I did to bring in a lot of work was go around the local estate agents. One thing that my boss did when I first got taken on as kind of a decorator, the first time I was employed, was he would walk onto a building site. He wouldn't walk past a house that was being renovated or drive past a house that was being renovated and not stop and go and have a talk to somebody and leave them with a business card. Just have the confidence to talk to as many people. Get organised before you go self-employed and stay organised. Just don't get bogged down in the work. Just stay organised and keep talking to people. It doesn't matter how busy you are. It doesn't matter how much pressure you're under to get a certain job finished by a certain time. You need to carry on talking to people and staying organised. Your clients need to know when you're going to be in and starting a job. You need to be organised for a job before you go and start it. You need to have already had the conversation about colours and know that the client has chosen the colours for you. You need to know that you've got the materials already in the van before you go and start it, so you're not nipping off 10 minutes after you've arrived to get the materials because you're short on something. You need to have your tools washed out. You just stay organised. Stay organised instead of worrying about the job that you're on now and deadlines, because as long as you're organised, you'll knock work out a hell of a lot faster than you will do when you're bogged down in something. And I know it's a weird thing to say, but it's true. It's completely true. Just stay organised, stay on top of your game, carry on talking to people.
It's so important in anything you do. I mean, if I take it down to the most basic level, on a day-to-day basis, if I wake up early and I get to my laptop at 8:30 instead of 9, the whole day I am way more productive. I'm always ahead of things. Okay. If I don't turn on my laptop till 9 or 9:05, it feels like I'm chasing my tail all day long. And I think that's doubly as bad when you're on a job. If you don't turn up right, and that could be, like I said, just an hour of preparation or something like that, just to make sure your brushes are all cleaned out and everything like that, and you're organised, you know where you're going and stuff like that. Getting that little bit of organisation, that preparation right, the whole day, the whole job will just go so much smoother. You'll feel so much more in control, and you're just not chasing your tail all day long. And I think that's an easy thing for people to get stuck in, is they always feel like they're half a day behind and always rushing, and that ends up just making you work slower and getting more things wrong, and it gets worse and worse from there.
So what you need to do in that situation is explain to your customer that you're going to be late. Talk to the next couple of customers, tell them that you're going to be late. Don't worry about the deadline that was originally set. Sort your base out, sort your van out, sort your tools out, and then go again. That's all you can do. Just accept that you're not going to hit the deadline and go again.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. I think, sometimes you just got to reset and just get things right. Take the pressure off yourself by letting everybody know what's going on, and then reset, and you'll just be so much more efficient if you just take that time to get things right. One of the things that I just came up is, when you're thinking about going self-employed, you're working for a firm, do you talk to your boss about it? Do you tell them you're thinking about going self-employed?
Yeah, you need to leave on good terms for a start if you can. Because your boss, if it doesn't work out being self-employed, you need to leave the door open for you to go back. And not just that, if you leave on good terms, you'll end up working together further down the line. You'll be able to ring him or her and ask them for advice. If they get a big job that they're struggling with, you can always jump back on and still be with them for a week or two. Or if you get a big job that you feel is beyond you until you get the experience and pricing or anything, you can always bring your boss on and kind of split it with him. There's no... So for me, it's complete clarity. You need to have that relationship with your old employer before you leave. I've never worked for a big firm before. It's always been kind of a one-man band or a two-man band that I've worked with in the past before I go and work self-employed. And it's not like working for a big firm or working in a factory or anything where you kind of go clock in and clock out. It's even though they are the boss, even though it's their business, it's a partnership. You're working towards the same goals. So you've got quite I wouldn't say intimate, but you've got a closer relationship with a boss in that kind of business than you would do at kind of a bigger firm. So you need that kind of communication. You need that communication anyway. So I'd say 100% be upfront.
Yeah, and I think it's got to be one of those things. You want to address it as early as possible, and you just take the boss aside and just say, look, at some point I want to have what you've got. I want my own business. I want staff. If you want staff, I want to go self-employed and do this thing. Look, between now and that point, I will keep communications clear with you, and I am 100% invested in helping you and your business. And like you say, it's a partnership, especially if you're in a smaller thing like that rather than big firm. So have you ever, have your bosses always been quite accepting of that? Have anyone ever been a bit frosty and thought, I don't want this because he's going to be competing in the same areas as me? Or
no, not at all. Even like say, my first boss, who I fell out with, a couple of years after I fell out with him, when I was working for somebody else, so I went back to him and kind of apologised, and we're good mates now. The guy I left, this time I went self-employed. He was absolutely fine about it, and we're still mates now. We still do the odd job together now. There's no biggie. You have that awkward conversation. Never ever be scared in business to have an awkward conversation. Just do it. Communication is key.
Definitely. And I guess they'll always look at it as they've probably been, well, they have been in that same situation. At some point they wanted to talk to their boss. At some point they probably tried to go self-employed, fell on their faces and had to go back, and they understand it. And I think the earlier you can start talking to your boss about it, the more support and education they'll probably give to you in terms of helping you with getting ahead and getting organized and talking to you about the ins and outs of running a business that you don't learn at college.
Yeah, 100%. There's no better resource than experience, and that's what you're tapping into with your boss. At the end of the day, you want what they have, so they are the best person to show you, to guide you.
You talked about two things you don't get taught when you go self-employed is your pricing and your time management.
Yep.
Do you think this is something then that as an industry we need to start supporting decorators more on? As in, do you think if you take on an apprentice, part of what you're teaching them should, not just be the physical skills of it, but also teaching them and letting them know the importance of organisation and maybe even teaching them how to price? And I think maybe even if you teach your staff about pricing and stuff like that, it might help them see that, oh, actually the boss isn't taking bloody 90% of the money here. There's quite a lot of other things involved, and you maybe won't get so bitter about the boss earning all the money, and you might be less likely to go self-employed straight away.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the running costs of a business, that's something that I had absolutely no idea about when I went self-employed the first time around. And there are all kinds. I mean, I had to buy a van. I had some tools, but I needed to buy a load of other tools. There are insurances. So I had, what did they call it? Obviously the liability insurance. I had a lad working for me as well, a subby, so I needed, it worked out cheaper. I bought his liability insurance so that he had a separate one, keeping the van on the road, marketing. You never see that side of it. So actual business management, so that an apprentice or a young decorator have their eyes open before they even think about making a switch to self-employment, I think that would make a real positive difference to the industry, to be honest. I know I wouldn't have made the same mistakes that I did. I think my path would have been quite a lot easier if I had.
Yeah, I think, you're right. It helps the industry as a whole, and I think it's in the interest of bosses everywhere to teach their staff about how to do things properly. Because, like I said, when you first went into it, you were probably underpricing jobs, and I know that a lot of decorators will be underpricing jobs. If your boss had taught you how to price properly, you'd have gone in and you'd have been pricing at the right price, and you'll find that all the more established decorators, suddenly they're not losing work to people that are doing it at really cheap rates. So the industry as a whole, the sort of value of what you guys are doing will take a step up. You'll stop getting these, oh, I know, bloody Dave from down the road will do it for 40 quid and a packet of Benson and Edges. Because they don't know what they're doing. So yeah, I think showing your staff from right from the start how to price things properly and why you need to price them like that because of the other costs involved, I think has got to be important for everybody, and everybody will see benefits from that.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so last thing then, because obviously I love to talk about marketing wherever I can. Let's say you're going self-employed. What were the first few things that you did? I guess a lot of people will tap straight into their personal network and try and get leads that way. But what else would you do marketing-wise? What would you advise to get that initial blast of customers and get things set up?
So first of all, you need a right. Okay, how to explain this? Right, first thing you need to do is talk to as many people as possible. Like I say, I started going into building sites. If I saw a house being renovated, I'd nip a card in and introduce myself. I went round estate agents. I phone around builders. Don't work for builders unless you need to. Pain in the ass. But I phone around builders, and if you can have that conversation with people, it will always lead to work. I put in a few leaflets as well, and in fact I went a little bit OTT with leaflets. I think I had 15,000 leaflets professionally designed and put them out, and I worked out how much I was spending per job I was earning from it, and it was a complete waste of time in the end.
Are you posting them yourself as well?
Yeah, posting them myself, me and my mate. So if I had to pay myself a day rate, I think I was paying the best part of 200 quid for every job that I earned from them. So there might be a more efficient way, but as far as I'm concerned, don't bother with leaflets. Talk to as many people as you can. Get yourself a decent website, because it acts as a point of reference. You can put it on your cards. You just have yourself a website there. You get inquiries through Google. You can always pay per click on Google Ads, which will bring you a lot of spam, but it'll also bring you quite a few leads. Don't bother with SEO unless you're going to invest a lot of your time in your website as well. And the big one, I think, is Facebook. I mean, people talk about you getting messed around a lot on Facebook, and I think you probably do. I think probably Mrs. Jones is out there flicking through Facebook, and she sees something from a decorator, and it's very, very easy for her to kind of comment on a post rather than picking up a phone and making an inquiry. Then you go to them, and she's got she never really wanted a decorating quote, so you end up doing a lot of running around for nothing. But I think as far as return on investment goes, I think Facebook is definitely up there. It's such a powerful tool when it comes to marketing. It's absolutely unbelievable.
I'm a big fan of Facebook, particularly Facebook groups, because every town and village have got local groups, and you can go in there and you don't have to be blasted and going, right, I'm a decorator, I'm doing this now, hire me. But you can quickly establish yourself as, I'm Mike Cupit, painter and decorator. I'm posting in the local group every day, whether it's just a meme or something silly, or just helping someone out, because there's always people going in there, right, where's a mechanic, or where's the best coffee shop in town and stuff. And if you're constantly commenting on those and constantly being part of the community, people will just keep seeing your name flash up, Mike Cupit, painter and decorator. And people will just learn and get to know you like that.
Absolutely 100%. But even paying for Facebook ads, it's so efficient. I can remember when I went self-employed, I did a big Disney wall source mural. Now, wall source murals are cheap, and they're a bit naff when you kind of put them on. But you kind of stand back and there's this big kind of Disney image of whatever it is in a child's bedroom. I can remember doing one of them. I can't even remember what the image was, but I took a few pictures and I put it on Facebook as a Facebook ad. I even put a price in there. Like I say, it's probably 200 or 300 quid or whatever, supplied and installed. I was making decent money on it, and I got my audience setting so that it was a certain age group in a 10-mile radius, and I think I boosted it for like 20 quid and got 4 or 5 jobs from it, and they were decent earners at the time because they're dead easy to install. So if you're going to invest money and you've only got a little bit of money, Facebook for me is the way to go. The other thing you can do on Facebook is you can post links, so you can actually direct traffic to your website, or you can have a big button there on your advert saying call now or message now. You make it so easy for your target audience to contact you. It's just efficient. Everything about Facebook is efficient.
Pound for pound, I think Facebook is the best advertising out there for probably 99% of businesses, but certainly decorators. I've been creating some ads for decorators recently, and the results you can get for the price are just phenomenal. You talk about obviously leaflets and stuff. You print off 15,000, then you're going around dropping them yourself, and then you spend 10-15 quid on a Facebook ad, and you can get 4 or 5 jobs. I mean, it's amazing. And I tell you what, you talked about murals, and I want to talk about that because I think murals, it would be a great step for anyone. Because how long would it take you? It's the sort of thing you can hang a mural on a wall in a Saturday morning.
Yeah, Saturday. It's half a day. So probably 2 visits. First visit, you go and you line your wall. You leave everything set up for the next day, and the next day it's a couple of hours. So 2 visits, 2 half days. Like I say, you can spend big money on a mural, but there are also cheap murals out there for 45, 50, 60 quid or whatever, and they're very, very dramatic. So like I say, that I got a good few leads from one mural, and as I was starting out, it was a massive help.
Yeah, I think there's wall murals and wallpaper. I think are 2 things that are massive for decorators, and I think there's a huge market for someone to specialize in it. And go back to Pete Wilkinson, his latest book about specializing. One of the things he talks about is wall murals, and not war memorials. Yeah, and I think because you can install them quite quickly, you could do it on a Saturday morning or on a weekend without disrupting your day off too much, and you can earn decent money from it. And it's pretty safe, as in you can turn around to the customer and go, you order the mural, get it delivered, I will turn up and install it. So you're not spending out 200 quid on the mural. You can just say, right, order it yourself, order it from here. You can help them out with that. And then Facebook ads, the before and after for that sort of thing is incredible. And because it's really quite consistent on how long it will take you and stuff like that, as you said, you can pretty confidently put a price on the Facebook ad. And if you spend 10 quid, 20 quid and show that picture to 10,000 people in your local area, you can guarantee someone's going to go, yeah, I want that in my room. I'll pay 500 quid for that. No problem. You book them in, and before you know it, you can make that step from, you get so many booked up and so many lined up that you think, I could do this full time, and you can then make that switch. And often I'm sure when you go in and you might do one job for a mural or something like that, you've got those few hours talking with the customer. That's a great way to then start going, right, here's the other things I do. Keep my number, keep me in mind. I can do your painting, I can do your wallpaper and stuff. And you can quite quickly build up that database of customers that's gonna see you right for years to come.
Yeah, 100%.
Perfect. So we're going to do that then. Should we set up a wall mural company?
You and me, John.
Yeah.
You can do the marketing and I'll do the installs. I think we'd do all right out of it, to be honest.
You're Southport, aren't you?
I'm Southport, yeah. Where are you?
Brackley, Northamptonshire.
Oh, okay.
But look, I can do the targeted ads. Well, Southport murals. Sorted, mate. Absolutely
cool.
Fine.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's been good. I really appreciate that. I think you've given some good insight on how people can make that transition to self-employment. And yeah, it sounds like you're a massive advocate of doing it, because when you get it right, it's so rewarding.
It is, yeah.
So where can we find more about Mike Cupit? Where can we find, because you do quite a lot for the industry as a whole, so where can we find more about you and get more things like this?
My platform is the Decorators Forum UK, and it's basically a platform for decorating discussion. So the big one, the one that I spend most of my time on, is the website. If you type in Decorators Forum UK on Google, you'll find us. You'll find all the latest industry news. You'll find product reviews, professional insight blogs, absolutely phenomenal. I put a lot of work into that website. Also on Facebook, search the Decorators Forum UK again. There's a Facebook group there called Painting and Decorating Forum. We're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn, and we're also on TikTok as well. So if you're on the internet anywhere,
I love your TikTok content at the moment. It's
please take my TikTok content with a little pinch of salt, because they are staged. I promise I'm not that much of a chancer.
The first one I saw, and I saw you doing dancing and stuff with aid, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, it's great. No, I really the Facebook group is brilliant. I love the culture that you're building on there, and people are really keen to help each other out. And there's some great decorators on there that can really show you what's possible in the world of painting and decorating. Yeah. And then all the professional insights, the blogs and stuff. It's great for decorators who are anywhere in their career at any level. Plus, you got discount codes as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. There's a few discount codes there. So yeah, it's worth finding the Facebook group just for the discount codes. There are more in the pipeline as well. I've been talking to quite a few suppliers this last couple of weeks. So hopefully, by the end of this month or by the end of April, we'll have a decent stack of discount codes there for several different online suppliers.
Superb. Okay, so last thing from me then, if you want more information from me, if you go to my website jmears.co.uk/ebook, you can download a free copy of my short marketing ebook, which will give you 7 top tips to help you started with your marketing. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this, mate. It's been brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on, John. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Catch you later.